Aloha, listeners and viewers. Welcome to Intermission, a conversation series between artists. Intermission is the Hawaii Chamber Music Festival's exclusive online channel with Broadcast Hawaii. I'm your host, festival founder Chris YICK, and today we have special guest, violist Andrew Gonzalez. Andrew is the first violist we're interviewing, and we crossed paths last year in Hawaii. He has a very, very reputable name in the music world, and our mutual friend connected us, and he came to perform in our festival, and we had a blast. And since then, we've kept in touch, and we've been really good friends. So, aloha, Andrew. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, man? Really great to be here. I wish we were both in Hawaii right now.
No,
You
definitely.
told me Eric's there right now.
Yeah, he is. He's camping out there, doing well ever since March, actually. But
Wow.
I mean, where are you right now? Last I remember, you were in New York City, but I think you're not there
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm actually camping out in Virginia. I don't know if you can see. I'm
Good
kind
old,
of
good old school
a little
growing
bit in the middle of
childhood.
nowhere. I actually grew up here,
Awesome.
and my parents don't live in this house anymore, but they still they're planning on renovating. I'm staying basically in my the home I grew up in, but
Hmm.
they live about 20 minutes away, and they're basically home realtors now. So
Yeah.
they're trying to put this on the market, but then when coronavirus happened, they kind of had to put this on hold.
Sure. Oh,
Um,
so in some ways it worked out for you.
yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, you were super active in performing chamber music, and you had a lot of engagements happening. But all of a sudden, from March, I assume it just poof, just disappeared, right? I mean, let's talk about that.
Yeah, actually, um, my first cancellation happened on a plane,
Oh
and I
wow.
didn't. Well, I was flying to San Diego with the Ataka String Quartet, and um, this was like on a Monday. I think March 9th on a Monday. I think that's a Monday or Tuesday.
Mhm.
Anyway, so they actually canceled the engagement mid-flight,
That's
and when
crazy.
we landed in San Diego, we got an email saying that the concert has been canceled and we have to go back to New York the next morning,
Oh
which was
wow.
a little frustrating. But I got some pretty good Mexican food
Awesome.
that night.
Yeah. 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 For sure.
But within 24 hours, everything up until May was canceled.
That's crazy. That's
And
crazy. I
then,
mean,
obviously
yeah.
lots of more cancellations. I mean, I'm sure September is going to get canceled too, but as of right now, I still have stuff in September and October, but I don't know. I mean, for the safety of everyone, I'm fine with continuing to do online things.
What were some highlights that were gonna happen for you? Was there any brand new performances, new experiences that you're about to have, or?
I was supposed to play a recital at the Pro Music program last week or
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and that was gonna be fun. I was gonna play with a good friend of mine, pianist named Christine Lee,
Awesome.
who lives she lives in New York, but she's not there right now. But I'm gonna do a live stream with them in a couple weeks. I think I told you about that.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'll do some solo repertoire, which will be fun. I think another thing. Well, the Hawaii was supposed to. I was super excited about going to Hawaii again.
Yeah. You were supposed to
But
join our program for
we'll
the
have
summer.
to we'll have to save that for another time.
Definitely, most definitely. I mean, I know from previous years you had your normal gigs such as High Fits and Costco Bridge. Are those still happening to some capacity this year?
Um, Hyfits is happening, but the part that I'm usually affiliated with is not. They're doing a virtual
I
online,
see.
and I don't think Classical Bridge is happening. But you'll have to talk to Eric about that. I think he'd know better. I feel pretty fortunate though because I got to get out of New York and stay somewhere. I think
Yeah,
a lot of people are really struggling, and um, I think the first couple months were pretty intense for me. Like,
for sure.
but I think after applying for different things to make paying rent in New York possible,
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit less like stressed out about it.
What else? Like, let's see. You perform a lot of chamber music. You concertize everywhere, and you're a traveling musician. I guess let's dive right into your career. How do you juggle with all of that? Seriously, like, I mean, crazy flights, like you said. You're flying from east to west, and I think I've seen on your schedule before. You go to France sometimes, or you're going to Europe, but then all of a sudden, you'll have something like Hawaii for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, I thrive on being able to travel. I've gotten so used to it after sort of years and years of that lifestyle, and
Sure.
it's been actually kind of strange, like stopping all of that. And this is the longest I've been in one spot for like probably since I was like 16.
Awesome.
And it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of symbolic that the last time I've spent so much time in one place was actually here in my home, in my house.
Sure.
So it's kind of a reset for me. um I do definitely miss it. I love being able to like meet new people and perform in the highest level I can. And I don't know if I'm answering the question, but this, being able to be in one spot has given me a lot of time to sort of reflect on things that I do want to
Sure.
pursue. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of people can agree. Besides the music profession, I'm sure every profession has taken a hit from this coronavirus or this pandemic in general. But I guess for musicians, in some ways, even though financially speaking, it may be sort of a burden right now, in some ways, I think this is a good time to, like you said, reflect. It's a pause. It's kind of like a fermata, as you say, for us.
Mhm.
And I mean, what are some thoughts that have come to you? Are you thinking like, wow, after this, I really want to do these kind of concerts, or right now with all this time, I can finally practice this sonata, I can learn this concerto, and hopefully I can get performances of that. I mean, what kind of thoughts have run through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think go up until the virus started, I was
Sure.
actually having some pretty like um I was becoming a little burnt out with like performing and doing concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
Um Particularly on the viola. And I don't know if I told you, but I do play the viola da Spalla, which is like
Yeah.
a 5 string.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's given me a lot of time to sort of explore other instruments that I play.
Sure.
That being one of the instruments. I also play the classical guitar. And
Cool.
Rachel, my girlfriend, is a really awesome violinist, and she's on her spare time, she likes to do a lot of fiddle stuff too. So I started playing the guitar out of necessity. And actually, we've had a lot of fun playing some different fiddle tunes from Baroque, modern, everything.
What has been your musical upbringing, like your journey? Take me through it. I know you studied Juilliard,
Sure.
and you have viola, but why viola? Why Juilliard? Why all these things?
So I always tell people this. I started the viola in a public school program in Virginia,
Awesome.
and I had the choice between. I remember I was given a paper right before I was starting 5th grade, and you had to fill it out what elective you wanted, and
Sure.
there was a choice between violin, viola, and cello. Not bass though, unfortunately. Maybe I would have picked the bass. And my brother played the violin, but he kind of hated it, and he never practiced. So I thought the instrument naturally sounded super scratchy and like I did, but I didn't pick that. And I knew the cello was like really big, and I took the school bus every morning and
Oh wow.
afternoon, so I wasn't going to be able to fit that on the school bus. So I chose the viola. I didn't even know what it was, and that was the best, most uneducated guess decision that I've ever made.
Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, wow, public school program upbringing. That's incredible. I mean, did
Uh,
you have some sort of musical breakthrough when you were young, or some sort of concert that you went that just really changed your life and just kind of made you shift gears that, wow, maybe this could be your career, this could be your calling?
Well, I guess I'll just I really liked the more I practiced and the better I got. I really liked working and getting to know the people that like doing what I do.
Sure.
And as I got better and better in high school, like I I started taking lessons in the 6th grade private lessons
Hmm.
along while I was in my strings program in middle school, all throughout middle school, and I was also doing a youth program called Bay Youth, which is awesome. And in 8th grade, I started doing chamber music at the Hampton Roads Chamber Players, and it's basically a group that's still happening, and basically introduced a lot of people to chamber music and chamber orchestra playing. And yeah, you just see this. There was just this progression that I really enjoyed.
Sure, sure.
Meeting new people. And in high school, I went to an arts program called the Governor's School,
Hmm.
which I did from 9th to 12th grade. And basically, I went to public school for the um, first half of the day, and then I went to this art school for the second half. And I met a lot of great people there.
That's awesome.
And I think that was kind of probably that program, along with Hampton Roads Chamber Players, were probably pretty leading causes for me going into music. I met a whole lot of people, and I had some great teachers along the way there too.
Why Juilliard?
Well, so I had a teacher in high school named Amy Davis,
Hmm.
and I had 2 teachers, one Amy Davis and one Stacy Migliosi, and
Mhm.
she's in the Virginia Symphony. They both were in the Virginia Symphony,
Awesome.
or affiliated with it at some point. And Amy recommended that I go study with Heidi Castleman for a summer.
Sure.
In my freshman year, there was a program in 2007 at this is my high school freshman year, 2007 at Interlochen.
Hmm.
And I just fell in love with her teaching. And my teacher Stacy went to Juilliard, and she was always kind of pushing for that. But
Awesome.
and it just sort of worked out that Heidi was teaching at Juilliard. So I sort of just kind of followed her everywhere throughout high school, and then I went to the promo music program, which I think that was her 2009 was the last summer teaching there, and I just kind of continued, and I studied with her for undergrad, and then I studied with her and hsin-yun Huang,
Hmm.
and I loved the way she kind of she was so warm, and she just knew exactly what I needed.
You mentioned a huge part of music being relationships, and I know you and I, when we first met, it's like, wow, we have Eric as a mutual friend, but then you met Vlad from Hawaii as a mutual friend.
Right, right.
Also, we mentioned all these people that we know, and then we really understand that, wow, the musical world is very small and niche. It's kind of like a family. I mean, but in terms of relationships, what have your experiences been? Is it just like the idea that, wow, the fulfillment of the people that I get to perform with are also my good friends off the stage, or every new person I met comes with their story, so I can just learn something from them. Or maybe it's just like anytime you meet anyone famous or important, you're just like, wow, I really like how they do things musically with that. So you get all this inspiration. Like, what is your love for meeting people?
Well, I mean that goes along with chair music as well. You can't really play without people, you know.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, pianists can, I guess they could play a lot of solo stuff, but for viola, like we're pretty limited on our repertoire.
Sure.
But in a way, that's good for us because we get a chance to play with others. Definitely, people are the reason why I play, I think.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, let me ask you this: for all your concertizing all over the world, let's take your experience back to Hawaii last May. you know, for a lot of people, there's some, they say performing in Hawaii is more special. Performing in Hawaii has a different vibe to it. Not every concert you do, you all of a sudden get a lay after it. You know what I mean? Or just the warmth and culture. How does your experience of performing in Hawaii compare to all your performances in New York, Paris, San Diego, you know, all these different places?
Well, it's definitely one of the most beautiful places I've ever performed. Uh, the food is great. The people are super nice. There's a lot of talent in Hawaii.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, would you say there's this sort of like this energy, yet this I wouldn't say need for chamber music, but just this excitement for all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And excitement to kind of see something new and exciting and yeah, I think what you're doing is super awesome.
When it comes to performing chamber music, obviously the repertoire, there's an abundant repertoire. I mean, if you just play string quartets, you can go on for days, go on for years. But oftentimes you see presenters, you know, maybe you'll play in Hawaii, for example, Brahms G major sextet, but then all of a sudden,
Mhm.
2 months later, you'll be playing Brahms G major again. Do you ever get tired or bored of the rep, or is it how do you keep things fresh for you?
I think if I'm getting bored of the rep, there's something I'm doing wrong. Because usually there's different people every single time, and also every every time you play something should be different. I mean, it's a different part of your life, even if you play it
Sure.
once through and then you play it again, you know. I definitely think one of the more unique times I played the G major sextet is playing it with bass. That's cool. It was nice kind of revisiting that when you posted that video,
Uh-huh.
that second movement clip. That was fun.
Awesome, awesome. I mean,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, it seems like because I think from my understanding is when you were in Hawaii, stuff like Schubert Cello Quintet, stuff like Beethoven Serenade, you've definitely played it many times prior to that. But was there a different dynamic you think between the artists when you're in Hawaii performing these works?
I mean, there was definitely something it was calming to play, I think, for the people as well.
Sure.
Uh, and I didn't feel like I was playing for an audience that's heard the cello quintet 1,000 times or has heard the Beethoven serenade or trio 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It definitely felt fresh, and uh, I played with Eric a ton of times, but everybody else I haven't played with that much.
Sure.
So that's exciting. That was exciting for me.
You mentioned Hawaii has a lot of talent. From all your masterclass experiences too, how was Hawaii's masterclass for you compared to
Oh,
the
that
other?
was super fun. Yeah, the violists were super talented. I think they made it very easy for me to tell them what I have experienced and things that I know.
Hmm.
And that was a great space too for teaching. Is it at the university?
Yeah, yeah, the university's like choral room rehearsal.
Yeah, it's a good room. I enjoyed actually listening to everybody else's classes too.
Awesome, awesome. You know, that's another thing too. As a professional violist, in your case, you concertize and you play chamber music. What are your thoughts on educating, or what are your thoughts on teaching? Do you love it? Do you just
I
do
love it, and I've actually been doing a lot more of that recently because the virus, like teaching online.
Sure.
It's funny, like I've gotten more students during this time than I have ever. You know, I
Yeah,
think a lot of people want to. This time things are slowing down. They want to spend
sure.
that time learning um, music, and it's a great time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as a player, as a very stellar player, you must have a different approach when it comes to teaching, though, right? Like, not necessarily what you think of musically and what you think of technically. As a player, you can't just take that and just apply it to teaching. So, what is your approach for teaching? Whether it's trying to get your message across to a student.
I kind of teach based on. I do ask them a lot what they think they need to work on
Sure.
because of course it's important to tell them what I think they need to work on,
Sure.
but also like if you tell people, if you ask them what they need to work on, then they know, then they're more susceptible to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah.
Too. That kind of thing, that because that it shows that if they need to work on if they know they need to work on something, then they're interested in fixing that thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of teach that way a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they say I don't know, I mean, then I kind of ask them more questions until they realize that they do know what they need to work on.
So you kind of just make them realize that they actually know the answer themselves. It's just you're just kind of like making them thought process and follow the directions, and eventually it kind of
yeah, exactly. And in a way, everybody is self-taught. I mean, you're not going to learn something unless you teach it to yourself.
Definitely. Well, I mean, and then there's another aspect to teaching as well. Like, do you get a lot of fulfillment? I know you enjoy it, but how is
I love it. It's awesome. I learned something just as much as they do, hopefully.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when I tell people to do something, I am more inclined to do it myself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, now let's shift gears to, you mentioned earlier you play, was it Viola da Spalla?
The Spalla, yeah.
What made you get into it? Like, was it just the love for Baroque music, Renaissance music, or was it just like complementary to the viola?
Well, like I said, the cello suites, I never really spoke to me as well on the viola as they do the cello.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of live in that range.
Sure.
And there's a guy named Sergei Malov in Europe who's like kind of like one of the best Spalla players that I know, and he really inspired me to like try to find a way to get one.
Sure. Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So I mean, have you ever thought of? I know I've seen videos of you playing Bach on the Spalla, and you've done some concerts, but like, what's next for it? Have you thought about just doing a whole series of recital tours on just the Spalla, or?
Well, I have been doing a little bit of like kind of mixing them, doing viola and Spalla. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to continue to sort of endorse this amazing instrument.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, I mean, let's talk about repertoire for the instruments. You mentioned earlier how like viola has limited repertoire, and trust me, I can definitely
you can relate.
feel the same,
even more
same kind of thing. But I think I've seen your videos. You've done like Rachmaninoff cello sonata, the slow movement on viola. You've done the Brahms sonatas, and of course that's on top of the suites and whatnot. What are your thoughts on choosing repertoire for viola, but also just like your thoughts on kind of not stealing from the other instruments, we'll call it. We'll just say borrow. Well, just your interpretation of other instrument repertoire on viola.
I think my viola is very deep, and I like to play repertoire that kind of reflects that.
Sure.
I also have a recording, which I guess you're going to show, the Silent Woods, which was originally written for two-hand piano, but Dvorak wrote another transcription for the cello and orchestra, which was eventually transcribed for cello and piano. And then I went and did a transcription for viola and piano, and then I had a friend transcribe the piano part for the guitar.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun.
Sure.
Transition. I think Dvorak would be pretty happy with it too. He was a violist. But yeah, just it's pretty. I like finding things that kind of bring pieces to a new light with different instruments that you wouldn't expect would sound so good. I mean,
absolutely.
You wouldn't really expect a cello on your chin to sound any good, but it does sound really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like Mozart's Symphonie Concertante.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Eric played in my jury, for my master's jury. He stepped in last minute and helped me out with playing the violin part for that. Walton I played a couple of years ago with the Virginia Symphony, which was super fun.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, they're all great. Bartok's great.
Do you have any advice to viola players or viola students who are trying to find which concerto to use for auditions? I mean, obviously, the universal answer people say is, "Oh, whatever you sound best, that's what you play." But is there some sort of advice or opinion that you have on that?
I mean, I'll say what I mean. I chose the first movement of the Walton Concerto for
Sure.
my auditions. I felt like my technique at the time was not enough to really make Bartok sound that impressive.
Sure.
Der Schwanendreher is great, I think, too.
For you, why chamber? Why not orchestral? Or why not teaching full time? Like, what made you just sort of choose this lifestyle?
Well, I kind of incorporate all of those things into. I do orchestra stuff, and I do chamber music
Mm-hmm.
and teaching. I kind of like doing all of them.
Sure.
I kind of go where I'm needed, but I think chamber music does speak to me the best. I think for me. And I always try to find ways to make that my main priority.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I guess the question is for your age, you're so young, you've had a very accomplished career, and you have, you have a lot of great experience, but what happens now? I mean, with quarantine happening, things are on hold, but have you thought about what's that next step in your career, or what do you want to do the next 5 years? Just continue this kind of thing, or new approach?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all up in the air right now. I mean, right now has been a really good time to sort of work on personal stuff. Like,
Sure.
yeah, and I think right now I can only really work on the things that I can change.
Sure.
And I think once things sort of get rolling, start becoming normal again, I don't think everything's going to be normal after this, but I think that, and with everything going on in the world right now, I think I can kind of put aside those things right now to for things that are a little bit more important to focus on. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think a lot of people have realized, you know, with this pause, it's just they finally reevaluate and sort of see what's just more important to them, and there's more to life than just getting on the plane, all right, showing up to the next concert hall. Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
sure, I agree with all that. But I mean, I guess with this uncertainty, this looming uncertainty, there's a lot of colleagues, there's a lot of musicians. I'm sure you're one of many, like you said, who have left New York or who are just kind of just aren't kind of fighting through it right now, staying there. What kind of words of encouragement can you offer? Because I know there are some students and musicians who are just like, wow, this is a wake up call. Maybe we should look into other professions, or wow, this could be the demise of music. But
It's not going to be the demise of music, that's for sure.
you seem pretty optimistic. So I guess, yeah, I mean, what kind of.
I think there's been, I don't want to say worse things, but I mean, there's been some very challenging times where there weren't concerts happening in life, really. I mean, I think right now we should think not necessarily like, oh, music world is done for, but like, what are different ways we can make an impact?
Yeah,
I think online, having the internet is really great,
sure.
and just you kind of utilizing that, showing past performances,
Hmm.
teaching. Yeah, I would say don't give up. I think the music world, the only way for the music world to to like die is if we do give up. So
Sure.
you just take it a day at a time, I guess. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good point. You mentioned the internet. In some ways, would you say the pandemic has made musicians and the entire profession utilize avenues of accessibility that we just never thought we would actually use? Like, if you asked me a year ago, it's like, would we be Zoom calling right now?
I didn't
Probably.
even know it. I honestly, I didn't even know what Zoom was in
Sure.
March. I figured I had no idea what Zoom was.
No, I mean, if with all this technology and all this accessibility now for music, would you say that people really are just appreciating arts and culture, music, entertainment as a whole? And this is in some way.
I think the people. I think a lot of people are. I think when you put something on the internet, you give everybody the chance to see it.
Sure.
But if you're playing in a big hall with like, $100 tickets, like not everyone's going to be able to afford that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's my piece on it. I mean, mostly everyone has some access to online.
Wow. Yeah. I think you're definitely right with that. Well, now I guess let's slowly wrap things up. You mentioned your love for chamber music. This is like that's your bread and butter. What is
Mhm.
some of your favorite chamber music repertoire? Like what is your Mount Rushmore of pieces?
Well, anything written by Brahms, the Beethoven string quartets, Mozart. I'm just naming all the big people, aren't I? Yeah,
Hmm.
I've been listening to a lot of that right now. Bach, obviously, so it's like somebody I'm kind of always listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess yeah, no, that's all sounds great. Like the Brahms piano quintet, Brahms string quartets, sextets, and you name it. They're all wonderful pieces. And
Yeah,
you're really lucky as a viola player to play Beethoven quartets. I mean,
yeah, and it's those quartets. I mean, this great music is. I mean, it's so great. I mean, and if you think about it, like these composers were spent a lot of time alone,
yeah,
which is kind of like what we're all doing right now. But I think kind of going into their world, I don't know, the music is speaking to me on a different level right now.
yeah,
I think I wonder if that has something to do with kind of the isolation that Brahms and Beethoven intended to have in order to make their music thrive. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I mean, I think right now the idea of like the curiosity factor for all of us is definitely heightened, and I think with sort of this kind of mood and uncertainty, the more music we listen to, the more we sort of treat it as nourishment rather than just simply consumption now. And with this nourishment, it really allows us to just sort of see different things and sort of relate what our struggles are. In this case, I guess the pandemic and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
um, into music. And I think that's what's really fascinating now. It's allowing us to really find more of our musical voice now more than ever. That's how I
Right.
treat it kind of time.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess well, Andrew, this has definitely been an awesome conversation. So the last
Yeah.
question I want to ask you is, if you had to play your final chamber music recital, what would you program?
Oh, geez.
Is there something? Is there a message you would want to convey? I guess what I would ask.
I would want the performance to inspire a new generation of people to continue to uh, give this music a chance in their own lives because
Sure.
it's super impactful and important to me.
Yeah,
And I think it really does heal and
yeah,
help people.
definitely. Well,
And
I
so
guess
if they could take away with that message, then I think I would be happy for sure.
well, I guess then the real question is, out of your years of performing, you mentioned all these great memories. What has been the most memorable performance in your career so far?
I've had a lot of great ones. I really enjoyed the Hawaii one. Let me say that. The one in Hawaii was really awesome.
Smart answer. Definitely awesome. Well, I mean, Andrew, this has been a lovely conversation, and I think listeners and viewers are gonna definitely learn a lot more about just viola because I mean, you're the first violist we've ever interviewed. And for those of you tuning in, we hope you like and subscribe Broadcast Hawaii, and we'll be having more interviews just like this. And we'll definitely be bringing Andrew back out to Hawaii when things are better in the world. Andrew, is there any final comments or thoughts you want to share with everyone?
uh, keep supporting Chris's festival. It's great. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Fun. Super fun.
Well, Andrew, take care, and I guess I'll see you soon. Hopefully, whether that's in New York or Hawaii.
Great. I can't wait.